But I mean, you're a smart fella. I need help. You have to tell me how we can stop the FBI and the CIA and the Justice Department and others from undermining this election after they tried to undermine the last two successfully in 20. Senator Hawley, this has got to stop. I think you'll agree with me. Question is what to do.
100% I agree, Larry. Thanks for having me. 100% I agree. What we learned from the Durham report is the Clinton campaign successfully leveraged the FBI to try and rig a presidential election in 2016, and they just about got away with it. I mean, they just about got it done. And we know in 2020, they did successfully interfere in the election by suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story, as you've just been detailing. So what needs to change? I mean, for one thing, all the leadership needs to change. The leadership of the FBI has got to go. I've listened to the director, Chris Wray, testify time and again that there's no problem at the FBI. They don't have a cultural problem. Yeah, they do. They're lying to courts. They're lying to the American people. There needs to be a thorough top-to-bottom house cleaning. We should start right there.
So you agree. That was my thought, house cleaning. I don't want to destroy the agencies. I know, in anger, some people, good conservatives like ourselves have said, let's defund this, let's defund that. I think we need a good FBI. I think we need a good CIA, but I think we just got to completely change the people. Reagan, years ago when I worked for Reagan Center, he used to always say personnel is policy. You got to put the right people, conservatives with a backbone, faith in America, that sort of thing. What I can't figure out, Senator, how is it that became these agencies like the FBI, which is a police agency in effect, they used to be conservatives. How did they turn so left-wing and then back in left-wing candidate? I don't understand. How did this happen?
I think it's because, Larry, the people who are running the show. I mean, listen, I was just the other day in Kansas City, where I'm from in Missouri. I was just talking to FBI agents there. These are good folks who are in the field, right? They're doing the work. But then you come to Washington, and then you see who's in charge here. And we're not talking about your normal law enforcement stand-up kind of guys here. No, we're talking about politicians who are running the show here. It's politicians in charge of the FBI now. And these people want to run American elections. I mean, let's call it like it is, Larry. They want to be in charge of the country. They didn't want Donald Trump in 2016. They didn't want the public to have a choice. So they tried to ensure that the public didn't have a choice. They tried to intervene. We cannot allow that to happen. And if that means that we need to reconfigure the FBI, we need to change their authorities, we've got to change their leadership, we should do it because we've got to preserve this country.
Yeah, agree with you there. Totally agree with you there. All right, Senator Hawley, let me change subjects for a moment. Let's see. At the CNN town hall, Donald Trump, my former boss, former President Donald Trump, he made these assertions. He said, it's time to stop the killing in the Ukraine. He said he would go in and make a peace deal with Zelensky and Putin. He said 24 hours. I'm sure that was an exaggeration. But the point is, he said, we're spending on whatever, $150 billion. The Europeans only spending $20 billion, and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are getting killed. And he'd like to see it stop with some kind of deal. I just wondered what your thinking was. What's your take on what Mr. Trump said?
Well, I'm not a fan of what we're doing in Ukraine. I'm not a fan of spending over $100 billion, as you just said, Larry, with no accounting. Listen, I've tried to get the Senate to vote. In fact, I've demanded a vote on legislation that would give us an accounting of every dime of taxpayer dollars spent. And remarkably, the Senate votes it down. They don't want to know. They don't want to know where the money's going. I want to know. So I don't want to spend any more money over there, A, until we can figure out where the money's going, but B, until we know what the strategy is. And C, the Europeans, why aren't they the ones who are taking the lead here? I just think that this is, I'm opposed to this, Larry. I'm opposed to this going on. So I just say to the former president, hey, if he's got a way to bring this conflict to an end, then I think that'd be great. I mean, I don't want to see Russia succeed. I want to be clear about that. I mean, they're bad actors. So I don't want to see them succeed in this at all. I'd like to see them push back to their previous borders. But above all, I think for the United States, we've got to ask ourselves, what is our national interest here? And our national interest, in my view, is not in continuing to throw money at this. We need to be focused on our borders, we need to be focused on our economy, and we need to be focused on China.
So you're sympathetic to Trump's view. By the by, I'm sympathetic to Trump's view as well. And as you just stated it, I served on the National Security Council among my other responsibilities. Like you, I don't want Russia to win. I'd like to preserve borders and sovereignty. That's the rules of the game. But nonetheless, there are issues here. Senator Hawley, as a follow-up question, though, is your thinking or Trump's thinking, is this thinking going to split the Republican Party in the elections coming up?
Oh, I don't think so, Larry, because I think the voters are all on one side of this. You know, I mean, I think the voters, at least in my state, the Republican voters are saying loud and clear, we don't want this. We do not want another nation-building exercise. We just got out of that in Afghanistan and Iraq. We don't want another 20, 30 years of nation building in Ukraine. We don't want America on some imperial adventure in Ukraine. And they're right about that. I mean, they're absolutely right. So no, I think the only split is with the D.C. Republicans. The D.C. Republicans, as usual, are in a different place than their voters, but they're the ones who are out of touch, not the voters.
All righty. Another quick question. I know you've been spending time on technology and free speech and things of that sort. My question to you is, if you reform Section 230,
yeah,
okay, which I think, I mean, we worked in this in the Trump administration. We didn't get it finished. I always thought, I don't want to pick apart the techie companies, but reforming Section 230 would be the free speech, would unlock the key, be the key to unlocking free speech. What do you think about that?
I think that's right. I mean, listen, I'm at the point, Larry, where I just assumed sunset 230, just get rid of it. I mean, it was dated back to the 1990s. It was created at a time, as you remember, when we didn't have the internet platforms, and it is a huge subsidy. You know, as a free market guy, we're talking about billions of dollars in subsidy every year that 230 is for those platforms. Why should they get that special deal from government? It's a special sweetheart deal. I just end it. Make them compete like everybody else.
Good. I love hearing that. Actually, I'm glad we got that through. That's terrific.